Welcome to an amazing session with two very inspiring women. We have Vanessa Robinson and Rosa Torres. So, our guests today, we're going to have a beautiful conversation, I hope, about connection, community, and enacting change. Um, so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but I want them to introduce themselves as well, and so that they share their own journey and tell us about your role as well. What is it that you do? How you got where you are, and what is your aspiration in the future? So Maria Rosa, she's a strategic portfolio and program manager. We are the City Rising Star Banking and Markets winner 2024. Correct? Yes. Congratulations. UN Women UK board member and a Latin American advocate. Vanessa is an innovation and social impact manager, digital and tech programs, Civic Futures Fellow, and chair of board and a Latin American advocate. So today we're going to focus on Latin American rights, probably super narrow to women's representation and the amazing work that they do. So Maria Rosa, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and your journey. What is it that you do? Why are you here? Why are you living in the UK? And then Vanessa, can you follow whatever Maria Rosa says?
Very good. Thank you, Monica, for having us, for having Vanessa and me today here. So yes, my name is Maria Rosa Torres, and I am first generation Colombian to come to the UK. Come for love, met my husband, and now I'm here 10 years ago. So yes, it was all love that came to me at this point. Um, and yes, I have a very strong background in program and portfolio management. I have over a decade of experience around the globe in insurance and banking. And I am a Latin American advocate in the UK, definitely. My journey is been like a roller coaster. The first time I came to the UK, I came and Vanessa and I have a very similar story in the sense that I came also to clean and do many other different things that were in my background at all, but sometimes you just have to do to kind of integrate and get on with life, you know, especially in a different culture, a different environment, different people, and different language to your native language. And yes, I started that way in the UK, but I had a very strong background again in Colombia about project management. And finally, I am here when I am today, which is I have my family, I have a son and my husband, and I now am working with the Bank of England in my day job, as I call it. And in my other type of roles that I have, I am very passionate about advocating for the Latin American community in the UK. So that's me.
Wow, that sounds impressive, but also you're involved in so many things. And I'm going to go to that in a minute, but I would like Vanessa to introduce herself.
Thank you. It's very hard to come after Maria Rosa, to be honest. I really admire her work. And then, so thank you so much for the invitation. And thanks so much. I'm not very good talking, and on things like this. But I think it is one of the things that I really like to do, although I'm sort of shy, it's to talk about not necessarily my journey, but how it is to be a Latin American person in a UK context, especially in terms of being a professional in work in the UK market, so job market. So I'm Vanessa Gabriel Robinson. I'm Brazilian. I was born in Amapá, is one of the states of the Amazon region. And I came to live here in 2010. I also came because I met someone. My husband is British, and he works in the music industry. And we met in Brazil, and I took the brave decision to come and married, and first to the brave decision of getting married.
Yeah, indeed.
and then came to live in London. Was never really, to be honest, I never had this intention to live in a place like London. I never had the intention to live abroad or work abroad. And then I met Luis, and then I came to live here 13 years ago. But I have to say that when I arrived here, and in Brazil, I'm a former journalist. I used to be a journalist and then work in PR companies. And then after this, I left everything to work in culture. So since 2005, I have been working in arts for social change. That's my background. Although I love communication, but at that time for me, being a journalist was very limited for something that I would like to do, especially coming from a very, my family was very poor. And then, from Amazonia being Amazonia is being isolated from the rest of the country. We are already invisible for most part of the country. And then for me, it was really important to work when I started to work in movies, when I started to produce movies and produce theater, I realized the potential of arts for social change. And that's my background. So when I came to live here, I was finishing a master at the University of São Paulo about technology innovation in the Amazon region. And I came to live in here, and I remember that it was 1 year of 2011 was Luis and I were married in Brazil. Then we came to live here in a definitive situation. And it was 1 year before the Olympic Games. And then the Olympic, and after the next city to host the Olympic Games would be Rio. And then and I always say that in a sense that that when I arrived here, there was a sort of appetite to understand a little more about Brazil, to learn more about the political situation in Brazil, the cultural situation in Brazil. So in a sense, I think I was lucky to arrive in a context where there was some appetite to work with Brazilian organizations. And I had this background. But it didn't mean that I went straight to work in the sector here. I had to go to hotels. I was a cleaner before, and as I said when we were talking before we start this conversation, it's something that it really has an impact in your self-esteem, because as a Latina, it seems that it's never enough. I think it seems that we always have to go an extra mile to prove that your background, that your professional journey is, has something to be admired. And this is something that I think is changing in a sense, but it is hard for those that arrive here with a lot of expectations. I work at the moment in a tech company. So I work in I manage a global programs to help refugees to get jobs. And apart from this, alongside, I still doing my independent projects to help organizations and individuals in the Amazon region. So it is a passion that I have. So I'm always trying to help, especially communities, riverside communities, indigenous community, to understand the international context, and also to help them with in the creative process. So, for example, I try my best to have some time in my year to come back to my place, to Amapá, and work with communities there, especially women that work from riverside communities. So that's something that I do alongside. And I'm a chair I chair a board of trustees in a Latin American organization that is one of the most important organizations that help Latinas that are victims of violence. And so it's an organization that I really admire and is very close to my heart. I'm leaving very soon the position of chair, but it's something that really helped me to understand what is to be a Latina in the UK context, because I think when we are from Brazil, we don't have this sense of what is to be Latina, because the country is so massive that that we don't. It's very. it's funny to say that, but we don't feel like, oh, well, we are Latinos. And when I'm here, when I started to live here, this community really helped me to not give up. I think this is what I think very, very directly. Being a Latina and then work with the Latin Americans, with the Latin American community, he really helped me to not give up of things that, of my passions, of what I wanted to do. It doesn't matter where, but yeah, so that was really the Latin Americans that I met were really important for me. And then I think I am where I am because of them, mainly.
Okay. So it sounds to me that the struggle is real,
It is.
and you kind of come to a different country and there is a loss of status in a way, and that is very difficult to cope with and come to terms with. And it's a decision that you make for whatever reasons. And I guess it's that curiosity, what's on the other side, and you go for it. It must, how did you build? I'm always interested in the connections that you build, the people that you encounter, because at the end of the day, we our planet is a human planet, and we cannot live without people. And normally, it's people who bring the biggest opportunities and the biggest challenges. So, can you share what strategies or specific things you did at the beginning of your journey as a Latina in the UK to build that community, to build that network around you? I think, Vanessa, you shared that you joined, you
Mhm.
found, you kind of found a sense of purpose. That's what I gathered from what you said. You found a sense of purpose, and that kind of kept you going.
Yeah, I think there is my father always told me, and I think that's there is some, I think there is some resilience that comes when you are Latina. And I don't like to generalize, but I think that's, well, at least this is my my learning journey and my background, considering the struggles that my family faced when especially when I was young. Is like my father always told me that the good professional we always find a place. It seems very naive, but now I understand what he means. It's really, I think when I think we needed to have this. As I said, I arrived here. There was this very, there's a lot of curiosity about Brazil and how we work with Brazil and what is, can you help us to make connections with cultural organizations in Brazil? And of course, at that time, I realized that there was an opportunity for me, and I had to kind of go to this organization, say, look, I'm more than happy to volunteer for you and understand the market and see how I can help you. And this is how I started to do these connections. And then after this, I work in the Olympic Games here, and then I went to work at the British Council afterwards to make it to manage this program between Brazil and UK because of the Olympic legacy. And after this, and so on, I went to Queen Mary University to work in innovation for the faculties of humanities and social science and so on. But at the end of the day, it is about the repertoire that you repertoire, that is about the background that you build in your country. I think
Okay.
it is about this resilience, this fact that it's not about what the other people think about you. And I know that's not an easy thing. Trust me, 7 years of therapy in this country, so I can
You can attest.
yeah, I can say what I'm saying now. 5
Yeah.
years ago, you wouldn't hear this from me. But it is about the material, the the background that was built when I was in my country.
Yeah.
And what I learned from my professional background there. I understood within this journey that there is a uniqueness when you are a Latina in a UK context.
Yeah, I
And
agree with
you
you.
have to use this uniqueness on your favor instead of be ashamed of this uniqueness.
Yeah,
And it's not easy,
Okay.
I understand, because it is a balance to adapt to the market, but at the same time to keep something that is always something beyond. And like for example, there are things in terms of oh, this is not possible because we don't have a budget. And for us, because we came from a background that budget is always a problem,
yeah,
especially in the cultural sector in Brazil, for example. And I was like, no, there is a way to make this
Yeah.
happening. And then you go and you're gonna build this connection, showing that your background is a little beyond of what people are thinking about you. It's an exercise that's not easy to do, but within the time I understood that what make me go beyond is the uniqueness of what I learned in my country.
Okay. I'm gonna touch on a point later, but I would like Maria Rosa to share your strategies. How do you build that community, those contacts, those relationships when you start from scratch?
I think it's very similar to Vanessa in several points. I will have to touch base on knowing yourself, which is self-awareness, really. Being self-aware of your strength, and like Vanessa said, your unique points of selling yourself, right? Because that's like you have a personal brand, and your personal brand is completely different from a person that was born here and a person that was born in Colombia, in Brazil, a person that was born in Germany. All of them have their uniqueness, right? So your personal brand varies because of your cultural background that you have. So first is understanding that, your self-awareness. Secondly, is also thinking about opportunities. Where are my opportunities in the UK, right? It depends. I mean, if you're a very strong communicator, you have different routes for you to go. If in my case in particular, I was very blessed that my profession is quite a transferable skill. Project management is something that goes everywhere. So that transferable skill that I had, it played in my favor. And unfortunately, for so many Latin Americans living here in the UK, that hasn't played in their favor. And sometimes they have to deviate from that expertise. I have met many teachers, that are in the cleaning sector, in the healthcare sector, because that skill wasn't transferable. So I think it's important also, even though you have studied something differently, you have to find out what is it transferable that I can't bring on. And it's not necessarily only about expertise, but it's also about when we talk about soft skills, right? Communications, your positive energy, finding new ways and solutions, like Vanessa said, innovation. We are very innovative culture, Latino people. Latino
Yes.
people don't see things like a difficult thing. They always overcome. There is something like we keep going, that's part of who we are. Thirdly, I've also very passionately have connected with Latino people. So I have purposely found where are the Latino people hide in London. So one of the people I have been very lucky to meet is Vanessa here. So I've met Vanessa, and I've met all lovely ladies that work with us in the board, which have been very privileged. All of the Latino women are thriving. So for me, it's unbelievable. I have also been blessed to meet people in the technology space, Latinos in tech, a group that was found by Lila and Emilio, both of them Latino from Mexico and Venezuela. So I was very blessed to find them. And LinkedIn has been a platform for me to be able to build those relationships, those communities, and to be able to connect with different people. But I also, at the same time, I have embraced what means to be Latina in the UK. And that's a different connotation to, you weren't born here, but you have possibilities. There's opportunities. You just have to find them.
Right. So you're both based in London. I am in the north, in Liverpool, and I find myself very isolated
Mm-hmm.
because the majority of the Latin American population concentrates around London or in London. And however, I think we all face the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to taking the dreaded equality and diversity information, there is no option for Latin.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've always been, I just take other. I don't know if this is sensitive information. I just take other or mixed other. Why isn't there a tick box for Latinos? If we are so many, and I've been reading about thousands in growing population, and it's not like it's just low skill Latin Americans, that we have different segments of the community at different levels, professionals, entrepreneurs, and I think it's not insignificant the amount of people that live especially in around London. So can you share why this is the case? And I know you've been doing some work around that. If you could share what is it that you've done and what's next, or just your wins and the challenges, that'll be great.
I can go first. Well, I think above all, we also have to consider that the UK context for Latinos is completely different of the, let's say, the American, the US context for Latino, where the community, that there is a recognition of the Latin American community. And I think here, the Latin American community is still a very invisible community, either for not only in the census situation, but for everything that's about the the policies, for example. I think
Mhm.
there is I think, first of all, considering um, my first response about the connections, how I build, I think, of course, everything is about my experience and then my personal situation. I think I cannot, I cannot, I cannot say that it is because of this that I am where I am, and we know that people arrive here in different contexts. So Latinos arrive here in different contexts. I arrived here, let's say, in a very privileged position. I was married to a British guy that was, really support me when I was looking for jobs, and could introduce him some people. I think it's important to talk about this level of networking, because we don't arrive and have a network straight away. No, you have to fight for this network. You have I don't remember how many cup of coffees I have to pay. When I was only earning like £400 a month to start the connections for people, so people to understand my background, to learn more about me. Saying that, I think there is this huge lack of knowledge about what is to be a Latino, and then we keep in this invisible situation where we are others or mixed race. There is there is a movement included, Latino excluded. That was one of the first time that I heard about the situation of the census, and they try really hard, especially in the creative industries, for Latinos to be recognized. Because why is important for us to be recognized, especially in the census? Because at the moment that you have, for example, in Arts Council England, a box where you see Latinos, then we have more chance, let's say, to also apply for more grants in arts. And it's also an opportunity for us to create artist project that can help the community. And this is why the census is so important. There is a situation, there is an amazing academic, Kathleen from from the King's College. I met her when I was working at Queen Mary University. She has been studying the invisibility of the Latin American communities. And one of the things that I worked with her when we worked together at Queen Mary University was about the Latin American community in Wuhan. And she did an amazing project there in schools, because from the moment that they start, the kids that are, the parents are Latinos, when they start to talk about opportunities for Latinos, then the council also recognize this community. And the box of the Latino box, the Latinos went to the GP. And then if you have Latinos in the GP, then of course, then you're going to start to pay attention to situations of health for that community. This is really important for us, because if you don't have a census of how many Latinos, because we also not either recognize as Black, we not either recognize as we are sort of BAME, which is a very strange thing. What's a BAME? What is minority ethnicities? So if you don't understand that this community exists and this community has a specific culture, and in fact, multiple cultures, because we are talking about multiple countries, you cannot create cultural policies, healthy policies to help these communities. This is why I am part of this, especially in the creative sector, for organizations, for the government to recognize the community. So then when you apply for grants, your story, your background can help other creative people in Latinos in the UK to also create more projects that are for our kids. It's about our language, it's about our food, these kind of things. So I think, and this brings us to a lot of racism, because I think the racism here is very subtle. Now it's like underline. I think when we don't see Latinos in the census, for me, this is racism. When you don't recognize that this community also has a voice, for me, this is racism. And I think one of the ways for us to fight against racism is when we are formally recognized, especially because this helps us to have a voice in the making of policies, of national policies. So for me, this is the importance of at least as identity, be a Latino, have a box as a Latino, at least as identity, because of course we know that we are different, but I think in terms of UK context, being recognized as a Latino help us a lot to have voice.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
totally.
you think basically what I heard at the end is recognition leads to representation, and then it leads to being better served or acknowledged, because it feels very othering. I think like you find your way because I don't know where to place you. Anyway, Maria Rosa, what are your thoughts on that? On
No,
this?
my thoughts are I think Vanessa and I share a lot of our thoughts, and we are very similar in terms of our opinions in terms of Latin American in the UK. It's really, I do think, our community has unique needs. Within our community, we have to recognize, and as Vanessa said, we come here in different status. Like the immigration status is different for all of us. And unfortunately, almost 60% of Latin American women in London, they are in low paid jobs. And that, in different industries, caregiving, hospitality, cleaning, etc. And those kind of jobs always open the door for the lack of employment rights and protection. And that is one of the key things of why it's important. It's important because, you have 60% of our women population, which are at risk of unfair treatment. And therefore, if you don't recognize those, how would you even understand or support and build a framework for them to thrive, right? We also have that we have a language. So all of us came with a different language. Our accents are different to British accents. And that is definitely, in the UK context, represents a barrier for many Latinos. Many of them have been educated and they might have very good level of English, but still the accent isn't a UK accent. And that is in itself a barrier to access anything. So again, you have two different things that needs that are unique to any other sort of population. And you also have the discrimination because of all of those things combined, you know. So basically, when you combine all of that, we don't have the recognition, we don't have the box, right? So the government or the United Kingdom as a whole, it's overlooking to the unique needs that we have as a community and the challenge that we face, right? So we basically, it's resulting in inadequate policies and resources around to help our communities. And therefore, you have the same cycle, right? People arrive, low-paid jobs, stay in low-paid jobs. Maybe second generation will be capped, but you know, second generations use also. I read in a study that the mayor of London did. 70% of Latin Americans, including second generations, which are fluent in English, felt that they needed more equality because they still face the same barriers as first generations. So I think, I mean, having a vote is around policymaking. It's about making those decisions and those addressing the disparities that we have as a community. Myself in particular, I have trying to make change within my own organizations to make us recognized and visible as a tick box. That is coming along. We have done a research project and we have outlined why is it important. And it's all of that is important. But also, it is important because it's beneficial for the United Kingdom. It will help to the economical growth of the United Kingdom. When people are in power, people have better employment and also more entrepreneurial programs can flourish. And that's the key thing. It's not just about recognizing us, but it's also if you integrate this community that has a unique selling point, you will also gain as profit, isn't it? So yes.
And I'm sorry, Monica, it's
No,
just to complement what there is. When I was working at the Mayor of London, I was part of the diversity and inclusion committee. I wasn't working as in the diversity and inclusion team, but I was co-chair in my department for diversity and inclusion. And there is something that after a long time, and then it is a very diverse organization. It is amazing stuff. But you can see that when you go to the very high levels in the organization, then this is when you don't see diversity. So I think it's important. We always say that diversity doesn't mean inclusion.
Yes.
And inclusion just happen when you recognize the communities that are part of this diversity. So we love to say that London, for example, is a very diverse city that, you know, we have a lot of religions or, you know, where people can live in the different communities, but this doesn't mean that there is integration or there is inclusion or everyone are have been benefit with, you know, policies. And the fight is not for the recognition of diversity, because I think this recognition already exists. The fight is for the recognition that we need to be included in the policies, you know, because if you're not included in the policies, then it's very hard for us to really, as community, to flourish.
Yeah.
because it also, it's not about the individual, it's about the group.
Yeah.
We want to flourish as a group. We want that our accent, it's not a problem when you apply for a job, that our surname is not a problem that we apply for a senior job, that, for example, our culture and the fact that we talk with hands, it's not a problem when we are in the workplace. It is about inclusion, and it's not about being diverse anymore. I think that's the challenge, because if you are included, then you feel that you belong to the community, then you have the chance to flourish. But you cannot expect it just because it is diverse, then the job is done.
Yeah, diversity is tick box.
Yeah.
And I always say people they keep showing up. You might be, you might hire diversity. It doesn't mean they feel like they belong. It doesn't mean they're going to stay. Because I've done some research recently, and within 2 years, women of color, especially Black women, 2 years they leave the organization compared to their white counterparts. After 5 years, they start thinking about leaving. So it's not enough just to say, "Oh, we have diversity." You have to create, engineer inclusion. So the next thing, so it's kind of related. You personally, I think you are role models for Latin American women. I don't know if you see yourselves as such, but I definitely see you like that. And now that I know more about you and how you started a few years ago, I want to know, how do you navigate? Because it is a navigation journey. You navigate in the waters of being abroad, and you're juggling several spheres of your life. But I think one of the most challenging is work, the workplace. So how do you navigate those complexities as a woman? The thing is, you don't come here thinking, "Oh, I'm a woman of color," and there is a transition in your identity and that realization
Absolutely.
there. Wait a second, I'm just Mexican. I'm not a woman of color. Everyone looks like me. I'm the majority, and we are the global majority. So, woman of color, BAME. I'm like, I'm just Mexican, and I'm
Yes.
brown. That's all I know. Uh, so, but it was never an issue for me. And
Well,
here's
it shouldn't be an issue. It should not be an issue. The color of your skin should not be an issue. And for me here, Monica, it was the first time I realized I was a woman of color. I've
what?
never in my life thought, I have never identified myself as a woman of color. But the concept of it just came here in the UK, you know?
And it's funny because I came in as an international student, so you're very sheltered and
Yeah,
pampered, and then you stay on, and you enter other experiences. That's when it hits you.
yeah.
So, how have you navigated those complexities as Latin women who became women of color in a rainy day in London or whatever, when it happened for you, especially when you aspire or you get there in senior leadership roles? There is no representation. You are the people. You are the women representing other women like you. So how do you navigate those challenges? Not only getting there, but staying there and being happy. Feeling like you belong and you are included.
Um, if Vanessa, you don't mind, I will attempt. I have to say that the first thing that I have done is my capabilities and qualifications. I think those things are really important in this context. So I think um basically demonstrating my capabilities and my qualifications have allowed me to break preconceived notions that people might have around Latin American women. And that has been really, really my platform to build network and to find mentors along the way, right? That have been instrumental for me to kind of open myself to new opportunities. So seeking out for mentors and allies that can being able to provide guidance. Not necessarily, I mean, someone in a senior position, but someone that has been there before, someone that's known the struggle, people that can say, oh, I've been there, but, you can do this, or, keep learning, keep educating yourself, allow, different skills, and building those relationships with individuals have really helped me to open up doors that never before were opened, really. So for me, it's about building the trust, which means that I have to deliver my role, my job, whatever is it. I have to deliver what I said I would do. And like Vanessa says, sometimes I even have to go like the extra mile, so to make sure people know these are my capabilities, right? So, and I think the other thing is about making yourself visible. And making yourself visible includes, making sure you are speaking for your community, making sure that you are working towards something, that you are engaging yourself in like advocacy initiatives, or that you're actively promoting your value outside of work and inside in the organization. Because I think all of those things combined will really help you navigate, say, your capabilities, where are your strengths, finalize your support, and make yourself visible. So those three things help you navigate in a way, the organization that you are. I've been blessed, though, that I have met many, many wonderful people along the way, many people that are not Latinos, many people that are in the Black community. I call them my brothers and my sisters too, because they eat plantain like I do. So I find in food a common ground with the African people.
True.
I really have found them. And I also consider them part of my community, because they have similar things that maybe other people don't have. They share similar backgrounds, similar struggles. I've also find, I mean, in what the UK call the ethnic minority, I have found a family of support uh,
Okay.
from many different backgrounds. So I've been quite lucky, as well as many other British people that have also provided me support. My family here, and different bosses, my different people. I've been lucky enough to be able to navigate those challenges.
Thank you. So your skills, mentors and allies, visibility, internal and external. What about you, Vanessa? Is there anything maybe the same or some other? What are your strategies for navigating the landscape? The choppy waters, I would say.
Yeah, I think also there is, again, we come back to the context, because as I said, I was born in the Amazon region in Brazil, and then I'm not from a big economic city like, for example, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. So since I decided to, for example, move to São Paulo, since then for me it was already a struggle to kind of position myself, to empower myself. And then because also there is a lot of uh racing with people that are from the Amazon region. So I think I have been living with racism since I was a child. I think for me, I think the difference is that, for example, in we can go talking about colorism and everything. I'm not, let's say, I never I in my case, in Brazil, I never felt the same racism as, for example, in Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo, as my other Black friends have friends. So, for example, be followed, when you are in a shop and buy something. This never happened to me. And then when you come to live in the UK, the racism is different, because you're not only a woman of color, but you are a woman of color from the global South. And what in Brazil or in the other countries in Latin America, in South America especially, is considered being a white person, here you are not a white person anymore. You are a Latina. And there is a level of, and then you are a migrant. So it doesn't matter that in your, if you are from São Paulo, Rio, I think a big city, or for example, if you are from a capital in the other countries in South America, here you are a migrant. And you really have to forget about some privilege that you might had in your country. And I think that's the context, because it is about the intersectionality of those issues. And you're not only a woman of color, but you are a woman of color from Latin America who speaks, who never, like I learned English when I was 31. You know, I'm 40, I'll be 44 soon. And I still, these days, even though I have a senior job and everything, I still these days think with myself, is this have been correct? Is this really correct? Or am I, or like a simple, have I missed something? It can, and this has a huge impact in your self-esteem. And create strategies. I create strategies every day to survive, but it's tiring. I think we shouldn't be. I think we have, when you are migrant and when you are Latino, and when English, you didn't learn English since you didn't go to international school and all this privilege, and it's very hard to navigate every day, because you feel that you're not doing what you'd love to do in the job. It is this imposter, you could say imposter, but it is about like why I feel that I'm more intelligent in my language than I am in English.
Yes. It's like in a parallel universe, isn't it? Like you live in a parallel universe.
And then I'm very confident about my skills. I'm very confident I can do a job. But it's when the network play a very important role. When you are in an environment where people support you, and it's very happy to help you, and they understand that you also can bring something new to the team, then you feel more confident and then you flourish. But when you are in this constant you all the time doubt yourself, and you doubt yourself because you think that the rest of the team also doubt your skills. And that's the tiring thing for me, because it's every day you create a strategy to survive, and it shouldn't be like this. So in terms of strategy, yes, I try to educate myself. In Brazil, we don't have a cover letter, so I have to understand what a cover letter is. I have to understand how to address a cover letter. I have to understand how to prepare a CV. We don't say, like how to create network, and then how after coffee you have to send an email back to the person, how you have to talk about the weather for 30 minutes, because here you have to talk about the weather for 30 minutes because it's how the culture is. But and in Brazil and probably Mexico, and it's like you are in a bus stop, you met someone for 5 minutes, and then in 5 minutes that the person had been divorced, is pregnant.
True.
Yeah.
You share
And then this
your
kind of
story openly.
No, here, no.
and then this kind of things that it feels that in the workplace you always you do this.
Tippy toes. Yeah.
Just like, and in Brazil, like andando em ovos, like you always like eggs, you never like, am I being intrusive? Oh, I saw that she's pregnant. Can I say if she's pregnant? Is okay? Is it
Maybe
okay?
she's fast.
So it's so
You never
hard
know.
to navigate. So this is why I had to go to therapy, because I was like, is it my English? Is it my English skills? And then I remember that my therapist, that he was American, and he said, Vanessa, I speak English. I married an English woman. I had to read a book to understand the English culture. Because at the end of the day, it is about the culture.
Yeah.
It is about how you communicate. There will be codes in this culture, in this country, as we have codes in our country that we are always learning.
Yeah.
So my strategy is to understand the codes.
Yeah.
Is to listen,
Exactly.
to
And
listen.
those, but the codes here are silent.
Yeah,
I was
it's
saying
to
to someone
listen.
the other day, Vanessa, when I came here, my first job, right? I remember one of my bosses said to me, like, "Oh, Maria, that is interesting,
Interesting.
interesting." And I was like, I thought, oh my God, great, interesting. I came
Amazing.
out from the meeting and I was like, amazing. I nailed it. I did great, whatever. Then I go to my desk. And again, I was very fortunate to have this friend. She's British. But she said to me, if the boss said it's interesting, that is not a good thing, Maria. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean by this? And she said, no, that means that you really like, you have to redo the whole thing. And I was like, what? I was shocked. From there, I've been learning the codes too. And I agree with you 100%. But here, they're like, I don't know, the codes don't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the strategy is, I think my strategy, if we can call a strategy, was, I remember that my therapist, this guy that I'm always gonna be grateful for meeting him and for him to be such a nice person to me. That was, he gave me this book, Watching the English, and then was when I, like, for example, there is in this book, like, why English people talk about weather all the time, why they love garden, why you cannot ask someone directly, for example, how much was your house? I remember my father was saying, like, I said, we bought our home. My father said, how much was this? And I was like, and I remember my husband saying, did he ask this? But because in Brazil, we are more directly,
Same.
when we say, like, we are sad, we say we are sad. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk. So I think for me it was very hard at the beginning to understand the codes and understand that is not personal. There are some things that it is about, I think I need to separate it. There are some things that is not personal. Here is like, if they are talking about your job, your work, they are talking about your work. That's one thing. And then I have to understand that's not personal. That's not about, me. However, I think, and I have many examples that when you are a Latino, it is expected from these people that you go an extra mile. And I think that is the tiring thing, that you always have to prove that you kind of deserve you deserve where you are. And I think that's what needs to change, especially if you are working in an international organization. All cultures, all accents, all backgrounds needs to be welcome, because there is no right accent, there is no right background. There is someone who is capable to do the job.
Yeah.
And then if you don't keep putting, but can you really do this? Can you really do that? That's not about this. You have to trust that the person can do the job. It doesn't matter where she or he come from, or how she pronounce, yellow. The most important is, have you received, are you okay with this communication? Is this message clear? Sometimes I say, for example, job interviews for me is the hell, because I know that if I say, let's say, I give an example and I say, I don't know. I needed to get more details about this. That's what I would respond. I know that an English person gonna say, we need to be more granular. And I will never gonna be, and that's the things that I know that I know that this person will never gonna speak a good Portuguese as I do. But I think that what companies, workplace needs to understand, it is about the skills.
Yeah.
It's about the skills, and it's not about the accent.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
had a, I had a, we had a guest. She is the CEO of Mex Grocer, Katia Torres.
Mhm.
And she said something very powerful because both of you keep bringing up the accent.
Mhm.
And she shared that it's actually a very powerful thing not to speak in your first language because you speak with more clarity. You mean what you say, and you say what you mean. You
Mhm.
do not enter nuances or beating around the bush. You just say what you think, and this is what it is. This is what I think because this is the language ability I have, and there is clarity in your words.
Yeah.
So I I found her experience very powerful. She's an entrepreneur, and it's different than working for someone.
Yeah.
And I always think that I think for myself and for other people who are from the global majority that are in a system, the best thing you can do is build something of your own for your sanity,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you can be an excellent person, but at the end of the day, you will have challenges. I'm not saying it's impossible. I have a fantastic contact. He's a CEO and he's done really well. He's Mexican, but he's very niche.
Mhm.
His field is super niche, and his skills are absolutely needed. That
Mhm.
makes a big difference as well. But I think there is power in speaking two languages. There is power in not entering the game of language, and there is power in knowing that you can always build your own thing. That
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
is something. And I know, Vanessa, you are building something, and Maria Rosa, I don't know if you are at the moment planning to build something or of your own, or what are you doing? You do a
Who
lot of things.
knows?
I mean, what else can you do? Seriously.
Who
Let's add
knows?
one more thing to the list.
What, who knows why life brings me, you know, life. I think work always call work, or work will always open opportunities, no matter what they are. And I'm blessed that plenty of those going my way.
Okay, so to close today, you see, it's been an hour already. I knew it was gonna
One.
just pass really quickly. What are you looking forward for your personal mission, um, at work, or you have a mission in your life? You're working in several areas. What are you envisioning for yourself in the next 2, 3 years, or maybe 5 years?
Mm.
For yourselves as women of color or Latin women, or however you want to identify, and for the representation of Latin American people more broadly in this country.
Maria Rosa, go. You go.
Okay, I go. Now, what do I see myself in the future in a couple of years? I will say that I would see myself um, still balancing family life. Family for me is very important. So even though I do things for a living, or I advocate for things that interest me, my priority in life is my family, my son and my husband. So I see myself still having my priorities as my family, but I also think I see myself exploring the world a little bit more. Um, Maybe the UK will not still be my home in several years, so we will see. And professionally, I will still be doing what I like. I like project management, I like portfolio management. So I will be, climbing up the ladder in any of those sort of fields, and um, if I still find it fun, because that's for me. If I enjoy it, then I will still keep doing it. But if there is a point in life that is like I'm not finding it rewarding anymore, so um, then we will see. There is always so much opportunity and plenty of things to do. In terms of the Latin American community in general, I would love to see more representation of Latin American women in leadership position, men in leadership position across many different sectors, more entrepreneurial, the government recognizing Latinos as we should be recognized, policy making including Latinos, because I want my child, when he grows up, to be able to look back at his heritage as something that is valued, included, and represented. That is what motivates me the most, is for him to have a future where he was born, but still his heritage is valued and his voice are heard. So if I may also, I would like to see more people, more Latino people coming up in the news everywhere. People like Claudia Lopez, a Colombian teacher that did a TED talk in Holt, London. People like Lila Franco and Emilio Cuevas, who founded the TEDx in London. People like what's his name? Elizabeth. Her name is Elizabeth Kiship. And Cesar, is it Cesar? Yes, Cesar Rodriguez from Empower LATAM. They're doing amazing work. So I would like to see more Latinos doing that kind of job, coming up and just bringing people and say, guess what? We're here and we're here to stay. That's what I would like to see.
Thank you, Vanessa.
To be honest, it's not that I'm not very good to say how I plan it. Like, to be honest, as I said, I never planned to be in London, and then I end up in London. And then I think one of the things that and then that's something that I also think the Latin American community is it is about this flexibility to adapt. And I was a former journalist, and then I went to work I had the opportunity to work in amazing organizations where I learned a lot, like the British Council, the Mayor of London, and now LinkedIn, where I'm working. I think what I would like in a sort of professional trajectory, I more and more I'm inclined to share more about my knowledge, my experience. I know, and especially because the work that we do in the charity we support, there is a lot of Latinos that don't just need more help and more support to get into the work placement and understand and have more opportunities, and they have an amazing background and they need support to someone that can hold their hands and help them to say, oh, this is how this is a cover letter, this is a CV, this is how you can write your CV. That's something that I'm really passionate. And then it's not that I will start to working on this, but this is something that I wanted to do more, is how I can be I don't like to say mentor because it seems that I know more, but it's not this. I would like to have more opportunities to share my experience with more Latin American women and understand and help them to overcome this challenge, the same challenge that I had in the past. But at the same time, it's not only for us to adapt it to the work placement in the UK, but also how we can position ourselves, when we are in the job. Because I think that we have qualities and we have skills that are really important for the organization. So we cannot deny this. We cannot deny our DNA. And it is a situation of balance. I think that's the first thing. As Maria Rosa, everything that I do after I had my son, it's like I have a new chance to rethink my background, my heritage, and give him the chance to be proud of this and he always says at school, oh, I'm 50% Amazonian as well, when he's learning about Amazonia. And this is amazing because it means that he can be proud of his Lebanese background, as I am proud of my Lebanese background. He can be proud of his Black background, as I am, because my grandmother was Black and indigenous as well. And I think that's the diversity, that's the thing that it is in this context, especially, it's been so hard to be migrant in Europe. It is this context, is how I can helping more migrants to be proud and to overcome these challenge in the work context that we are talking about. For me is it's always a pleasure to talk about to helping more migrants to get the jobs and to have and to create more representation, to increase the representation. But more than this is for us to be proud of what we are. I think I'm not where I am if I was all the time saying sorry for who I am. You know, it is hard, but at the same time, when things get, I remember that one day my husband said, oh, sometimes when I see you very confrontation, I say, okay, I can learn about this. But at some point, confront the fears is something that I learned, and it's something that makes me survive every day. If I don't do this, then I don't know how to deal with the rest of the world. So I think that's about the intersectionality of this. I'm always passionate about the intersectionality, because it's not just to be a Latin America, but it's Latin American, migrant, person of color, someone with disability, mother, because it's different as well. So it is about to understand this difference, and then learning from others, and then helping others also to learn from you. In a sense, it is a very vague answer, but I think when I see myself in the future, I see myself as someone that is learning, but at the same time, proud of a trajectory, because other people are coming with me, and it's not just me, honestly.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. And normally I send my guests a list of questions and I never follow them because we just flow in the conversation. Thank you so much.